Another year, another 100 or so books read. That's 100 places I've been and even more new characters I've met, and though some authors are repeats, their stories are unique. And today we're discussing the ones that deserve 5 stars, the ones that made me lose myself in the story and really embody the joys of reading. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Neverland Book Club. I've been off the internet for months now, and the fact that you're here watching this video reminds me that that's okay to do sometimes. When life slows down from all the chaos, I'm glad to have a place to return to, but my hiatus doesn't mean I've forgotten about you completely. Rest assured, my time working away from YouTube only furthered my plans for 2024. So if you're not subscribed yet, please be sure to do so and click that bell to be notified of any new posts or videos or, you know how it works. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram. I'll be rebranding the page to better fit our objectives for the year. All right, let's dive into the top 10 reads of 2023. We'll go from least to most favorite, sort of. Coming at number 1 was a big surprise for me. Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. If you followed me here since my Best of 2021 wrap-up, you'll know that I've had a love-hate relationship with Miss Hazelwood. I love her concepts, but mostly hate her execution. I can sometimes find her writing lacking while also trying too hard. However, this novel was her debut YA title, and I had a lot of fun with it. I felt the writing was spot on with the tone of the story, the characters were likable and well-rounded, and the subject matter was interesting and held my attention for the duration of the book. It still had her iconic line, that one, but it's YA, so it was, "Can I kiss you?" instead, which I found, in the moment, rather sweet. See, this is why I didn't lose out hope on Miss Hazelwood. I knew she had it in her. I just didn't expect it to be in YA form. Check and Mate revolves around 2 young chess rivals who find themselves falling for one another in the midst of the most intense chess tournaments of their lives. The characters had good backstory and development by the end of the novel. The villain was a perfect obstacle for the protagonists, and the stakes were high for both our MC's inner and outer conflicts. You did good, Ali. You did good. Do more of this, please. More of this. It wasn't bad. It was good. Good job. I'm just gonna switch them out like this so that I can go beep, boop, beep, boop. Okay. Moving on, in my efforts to ready myself for NaNoWriMo this year, I was reading copious amounts of dark academia-themed novels. They're all upside down? Johnathan Strange and Mr. Norell by Susanna Clarke had been on my physical TBR for over a year. It's very intimidating. This novel was uniquely special. It read like a classic, but felt just as relevant today as the time period it's set. The story blends historical fiction with enchanting fantasy. The world building immerses you in an alternate 19th century England where magic is a lost art rediscovered by 2 contrasting magicians. The rich prose captures the essence of the era and its complex characters, notably the titular magicians, that add depth and intrigue. Clarke redefines the boundaries of fantasy literature with her unique and engaging approach, mixing magic, politics, and desire for a truly unforgettable tale. Staying on the dark academia train, we have Babel, one of the first books I read in 2023, and my first 5-star read of last year. 5-star read. After reading The Poppy Wars, I knew I had to get my hands on everything R.F. Kuang writes. The story of Babel explores themes of language, power, magic, and resistance in a historical fantasy setting. The amount of research that must have gone into the crafting of this novel is masterful on its own. The use of footnotes makes the read that much more immersive. Kuang's use of compelling characters and vivid imagination, combined with meticulous research, made for a book I gifted more than a few times since reading it at the start of last year. The story follows a Chinese orphan adopted by a British professor to become a translator and silver worker, using magic and language to manipulate meanings lost in translation. However, when our protagonist is forced to use his skills to further the agenda of the British Empire's colonial ambitions, he and his fellow students learn of the dark secrets behind Babel's facade and decide to join a revolution. This novel is challenging in the questions it raises. The assumptions and biases of history, language, identity, and culture, among other things, are shoved at you, forcing you to look at the society you live in and how it was built. Kuang weaves history and fantasy to create a rich and complex world that mirrors our own. This story is uncomfortable, with a powerful and provocative commentary on the issues of imperialism, racism, and violence. It's not in any way light reading, but I think it should be required reading. And the ending, I've said it here before a few times, R.F. Kuang does not give her readers the endings they want. She delivers the right ending for her stories. That's all I'll say. I know I said a lot, but that's all for this one. Okay. Next, we have Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I think out of all the titles discussed today, this was the most fun. This story blasts you off on an interstellar journey of wit and ingenuity. The narrative orbits around Ryland Grace, a stranded astronaut tasked with saving humanity. Weir's scientific accuracy is riveting, blending humor with high-stakes problem-solving. Grace's character resonates with resilience, making the cosmic odyssey emotionally resonant. Big words. The story blends suspense with scientific marvels as Weir elevates space exploration fiction. This novel made me pick up more sci-fi this year, and I can't wait to see what he comes up with in the future. Let's go from dark academia back to fantasy for a bit. A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon, the prequel to Priory of the Orange Tree, one of my top 10 from 2022. I knew I was going to love this book. What's not to love? Magic, love, dragons, war, epic fights, and rich world building. I adore Shannon's writing style. Her ability to create thoughtful and rounded characters you remember and care for is unmatched. And there are many characters to keep track of, so much so there's a character guide in the back of the book, as well as a glossary and a timeline for those interested in the events that spark both narratives for Fallen Knight and Priory. This story takes place hundreds of years before the events of Priory, where we see familiar names, learn about the history of the dragons and the Priory, as well as the crown and the secrets they keep. Not only did this novel stay with me long after reading, the characters so real I could almost reach out and touch them, but it elevated the feeling of Priory to a more tangible and intimate level, which I appreciated. And it's big. We like big books. Alright, right on track with some more fantasy, and I think the most hyped books of this year, Fourth Wing and Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. Now, here's the thing. I don't care what people say. A lot of readers were disappointed by Iron Flame, saying it didn't live up to the hype of the first book. Now, keep in mind, this was Yarros' first published attempt at fantasy. All of her other titles prior are categorized as contemporary romance, though after reading In the Likely Event, which I enjoyed, I describe her style as more of an adventure romance, which is a different mood altogether. Her ability to write romance into action is undeniable. Are her tropes overused? Maybe. But that's why they're there. There's a library of tropes meant to be sampled and used, so I don't want to hear it. These books were fun, exciting, adventurous, and pretty hot. The Enemies to Lovers was finally believable. There's nothing more frustrating than using a trope to hype up a book just to read it and find out it was falsely advertised. And you know what? I don't care what people say. I loved Iron Flame. I thought it was a great continuation. Keep in mind, this is only the second book in a series. Fourth Wing did a great job world building, introducing the environment and the characters, the conflict and the relationship, the dragons and their importance. Iron Flame did a solid job raising those stakes, answering questions while raising more questions, enhancing the romance while providing both inner and outer conflicts. Were some things overlooked? Yeah. Was the revolution not as prevalent as we thought it would be in the beginning? Or in the end of the other one? Sure. But I stand by my statement, these books were fun. They did the job of a fun fantasy romance, so stop asking questions and just let people read what they want. Okay? Okay. Alright, back to dark academia for a minute. Oh, not for a minute, for the rest of the video. We have The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This novel submerges you into a world of intellectual decadence and moral ambiguity. Big words today. Tartt, with her intricate prose, masterfully weaves a narrative around a group of eccentric classics students at a Vermont college who become entangled in a murder plot. The novel transcends traditional mystery tropes, delving into the psychological complexities of its characters. Tartt's erudition is evident in the vivid portrayal of Greek philosophy and its dark allure, creating an atmospheric and intellectually charged setting. The characters, brilliantly flawed and morally ambiguous, become a captivating study in the consequences of intellectual obsession. The allure of the story lies not just in the murder mystery, but in the exploration of privilege, guilt, and the consequences of unchecked intellectual pursuits. I feel like I use the word intellectual so many times here, and that makes me look not intellectual. The narrative unfolds with a mesmerizing blend of suspense and introspection. The novel was exactly what I needed in October, because that's when I read it. I was saving it for then, and I'm glad I did. Next, we have a series I knew I was going to obsess over even before reading the first book. The Atlas Six and the Atlas Paradox by Olivia Blake. Olivia Blake has the ability to construct a narrative that defies conventions, blending elements of fantasy, academia, and intrigue. The story revolves around 6 magicians vying for coveted positions within the secret Alexandrian society. Blake's narrative prowess is evident in the intricate web of alliances, rivalries, and the moral dilemmas faced by these complex characters. The characters themselves are a captivating mix of brilliance and imperfection, each with a unique approach to magic that adds depth to the storyline. The novel delves into themes of ambition, sacrifice, and the ethical implications of wielding immense power. Blake's writing is lush and evocative and oh so flowery. I love it so much. Creating a vivid tapestry of magical academia that feels both enchanting and perilous. The magic displayed in the setting of this novel is what helped push me through NaNoWriMo and plot out the entirety of my second novel, which I'm very excited about. And I know the third book came out this month in January, and I haven't gotten it yet, but I promise I will. It's getting a very precarious stack. Okay. Next, we have another YA romance, and I didn't expect that from me, to have so many YA titles, but here we are. Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This was absolutely beautiful. Not only was this well written, but it was one of the more unique stories I've come across in a long time. Two rival journalists share a magical connection amidst a war between ancient gods. Now, I normally think stories about writers is rather lazy. However, here, the fact that the two protagonists are writers only enhances the story more. These characters are not soldiers, they're not medics, and what they have to write about is not pretty. They're thrown in the literal trenches of war, and they keep their spark alive. They keep their wits about them and pursue their goals despite the terror reigning around them. They're divine writers, and I cannot wait to... I wrote this a little while ago. I'm reading the second one. It's fantastic. It's lovely. It's wonderful. I think I like it more. I'm halfway through. If you haven't read it, please read it. It's so nice. Everybody else, am I basic? It's fine. I'm having fun. And last but not least, we have If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. A novel that easily made it to my top 5 of all time. This book is a literary gem. You're plunged into the darkly poetic world of a Shakespearean tragedy of its own making, with unforgettable characters that explore the complexities of friendship. While reading, you walk the hallowed halls of an elite arts college, where a tight-knit group of theater students grapples with love, rivalry, and the blurred lines between art and reality. The narrative is structured as a mystery, with one of the friends serving time for a crime committed years earlier, gradually revealing the events that led to the tragedy. Rio's writing is sublime. Chef's kiss. A blend of lyrical prose and psychological insight, capturing the nuances of both Shakespearean drama and the intricacies of human relationships. The characters, each a vivid portrayal of ambition and vulnerability, add layers to the narrative, making it a poignant exploration of the cost of artistic passion. The novel's strength lies not just in its gripping plot, but in Rio's ability to evoke the atmosphere of the Shakespearean plays woven into the story. The result is a beautifully orchestrated tale that merges the worlds of literature and suspense. The book is a must-read for those who appreciate the transformative power of both art and narrative. I have an entire video dedicated to this novel from last year, so if you haven't watched that, please do. I have so much more to say, and I say a lot of it. But I can keep talking about this book all day long. Okay. Now for some smutty honorable mentions. Out of the 100-ish novels I read this year, only about 25 of them were smut. So just, just 1/4. It's not that bad. However, some of the most memorable reads were well within that genre. My new favorite smutty author of all time is Sarah Kate. Last year, it was Sierra Simone. I'm sure next year I'll explore more and find a new favorite. However, last year, the Salacious Players Club absolutely stole my heart and tied it up in a shibari display of taboo appreciation. I adored the series, the characters, the plot, the intricacies of each relationship and dynamic of tropes used to weave a compelling story. When us smutty readers say we read for the plot, we're not lying entirely. Sometimes the story is just as intriguing as the spice. The spice just adds so much more flavor, And Miss Sarah Kate, she knows how to spice up a plate of girl dinner. Praise was my favorite in the series, the first book. I read all the 5 books that were out at the time in the span of about a week. I was experiencing heart palpitations just around the clock, but oh boy, was it worth it. The 6th book came out in October, and I just devoured it the day it released. I cannot wait to read the rest of Sarah Kate's series and purchase every one of her upcoming books. I want to support. She's fantastic. That's all I have for you today, dear viewers. Thank you so much for sticking around for another year of reading and now writing with this curly-haired clown woman, even though my hair's straight today. Be sure to like this video if you liked it and subscribe if you're not. We have big plans for 2024, and I know talk is cheap, so I won't sit here telling you all about what I have planned. I'm just gonna go off and do it. Comment below your best read from last year and your 2024 reading or writing goals. I'd love to hear it and share in our collective enthusiasm. Stay lost, keep reading. Goodbye.